Perhaps you've heard of the phrase double-minded. It refers to this idea that sometimes either we just can't make up our minds, or it is that we see multiple sides to a given choice that we might have, and we see the merits or the disadvantages of any of them. And sometimes that can mean we're sort of stuck in one place, but other times, even with our double-mindedness, we feel a pull in a certain direction. Now, regardless of what it is, there are times when certain choices, it's the same thing, but we can see how if we go one way with it, well, that's what seems like it lights us up. Another way might mean that it brings with it passion and maybe even frustration, but the end result could be more rewarding. And another way still might be more joyous, more pleasurable on the way there, but we can see that the gains might not be as strong. Well, we have all of this and more with the very powerful Gemini full moon taking place on Thursday, December 4th. And it is this very powerful full moon energy that has as part of it these connections with Venus and Mars. Venus, of course, being the goddess of love and pleasure and ease and joy and abundance, but Mars being the energy of life, of knowing something of your own power, deciding on your direction and dedicating yourself towards the way there. But Gemini itself is air. It is mind. It is thinking and then rethinking over and over again. So where do these more internal, more physical drives find themselves when so much energy right now is of mind? Well, it is mind itself that can be influenced by our own distractions, our own joys, our own indulgences. This very powerful Gemini full moon is going to be a gateway towards hearing the thing, speaking the thing, finally having that conversation that maybe you didn't want to have. And again, the double-mindedness, maybe you saw the advantages or disadvantages from actually speaking and saying and asking for what it is that feels like it's just under the surface until you reach a moment that is spontaneous, that is unexpected, and it might be wrought in some ways with that sense of urgency. And yet there's also such an energy of power here. Sometimes it isn't about the outcome. It isn't about how other people will acquiesce to your request, but rather it is about the asking itself that we make gains. And sometimes those gains are just knowing that we are worthy to advocate on our own behalf, to speak on our own behalf, and that we're worthy of taking steps towards moving towards whatever it is that we think is going to be better for us, and however we might understand that. And in this way, these very powerful energies of this time with this very powerful full moon are saying, yeah, we might see multiple ways with which we could go, we could choose, we could advance, we could move forward. The many ways in which we might interpret a given situation and the different feelings it evokes, depending on what interpretations we choose. But ultimately, it is the path that allows us to feel in touch with those things that we like about ourselves. When we are at our most powerful and inspired best, well, it is those paths that are the most trusted paths to take now. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of November 30th, 2025. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This Monday features not only our Cyber Monday sale, but also the launch of our annual 24 Days of Giving. The first 24 days of December, there are going to be prizes each and every day. You can learn a lot more and sign up and make sure that you enter that draw every single day for incredible prizes from myself and some of my friends that you've seen on my channel. More information and those links are below. You know, I like to say nothing exists in a vacuum. Nothing is completely isolated, even if it seems compartmentalized. It is an interesting way in which the sky can connect to other phenomenon that seems in some way unrelated, but the relationship is there. In the case of this full moon we're going to have this week, well, it is Mercury that is the ruling planet of this full moon. It's the ruling planet of Gemini. The full moon is in Gemini. Therefore, there is this natural correlation going on between this full moon energy and whatever is happening with Mercury. And what is happening with Mercury now is that we are newly out of Mercury retrograde, and we are now in the final shadow direct period, which means this is where Mercury is re-walking the path that Mercury was recently retrograde over. Over the course of November 9 to the 29th, that was when Mercury was retrograde. But even before then, when it was that Mercury went into shadow in the later part of October, that was the beginning of Mercury first walking down a path that Mercury would eventually retrograde over. And as Mercury embarked on this path, it set up right around the 24th and 25th of October, this Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, grand trine energy. This is supremely harmonious energy, all taking place in water signs, meaning that the energy of the time was one of a lot of emotion and how emotion can color our thoughts, but it can also bring a lot of compassion and a lot of sensitivity to how it is that we communicate. New understandings that aren't just about the agreements we make that make sense on paper, but rather the heart we bring, the sense of awareness that we bring, that it isn't just about something that's written in a contract, but that words themselves have meaning. They evoke other emotions, and that real people are often engaged in whatever it is that's being decided. And so we had this first grand trine take place. And I said at the time, this is a key characteristic of this larger Mercury retrograde season. Watch what happens at the next grand trine and the next. And so the next grand trine happened recently. It happened at the very beginning of last week. And that was with Mercury slowing down to stand still, but still technically retrograde. At the end of last week, Mercury went direct, and it is going to be at the very end of this week, immediately following Thursday's full moon, that we are going to have this grand trine kick up again for a third and final time. Whatever's happening at the very end of this week and as we walk into the following week will in some way possibly hearken to what was taking place for us about a week before the end of October, and also what was taking place for us at the very beginning of last week. Right now, we have a much more honest, much clearer way of evaluating how we are feeling, what we are thinking, but also that right balance for us, how we are going to express ourselves and communicate in a way to be understood, but also to understand what it is that our intention is, and how it is that sometimes, yes, how we're understood is about our responsibility, but sometimes it isn't. There's this healthy detachment, but how to understand that does sometimes involve compassion towards others or towards ourselves as well. I think a lot of these different forces and these different realizations are going to come together in very powerful ways. Mercury is in the sign of Scorpio. That's where part of this retrograde has taken place already. That's where Mercury has recently now began to go forward. And part of this retrograde takes place with Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. So Mercury will move back into the sign of Sagittarius next week. I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way. But for this week, with Mercury in Scorpio, Scorpio is an energy of resilience. It's an energy of truth. It's an energy that is about understanding what's really going on, what's at the core of a given matter. And what's really going on sometimes can come down to psychological forces. Sometimes it has to do with other motivations or other deeper, more layered interactions that are taking place between ourselves and our environment, between ourselves and our understanding of where we want to go, between ourselves and each other. Mercury brings an energy of intellect to an energy, or at least cloaked in an energy that isn't normally thought of as very intellectual. It is very wise, though. Every sign does have its wisdom, and the very probing and insightful and transformative nature of Scorpio, well, it can bring with it this deep insight that is so valuable in helping us to understand what is real, in helping us to understand what it is to be truly ourselves in any given situation, whom it is that we want to show up as in a given interaction, in a given choice, in a given decision, is part of what Scorpio helps us to engage in. And so we have here a Scorpio Mercury, newly direct, maximizing blessings with its trine to Jupiter, but also with Saturn there. These are blessings that have the potential to last a very long time. This is compassion and emotional connection that has a way of feeling like it changes something in us for a very long time to come, or maybe changes something in our key relationships with each other. This is a sense of being able to see a deeper truth so that when you really do get to that deeper truth, you realize how much commonality is actually there. All of us want to know love. All of us have fear. All of us have our own ways of processing whatever stimuli or interaction or information is coming at us. And very often it is colored through a complex lens that is so rooted in matters that have nothing to do with a given moment. And there are times when that gets in our way, sure, but then there are times like right now where it isn't so much about how that is getting in our way, but rather how the insight itself actually frees us to bring forward the best of what before we might have cursed, we might have wished was different. Many a very influential psychologist has said that so much of whom it is we become is determined very early in life. Some would even say determined before we're even 2 years old. But the thing is, we don't have a lot of power over what happened to us before we were 2 years old. And we don't necessarily have a lot of power over those forces that we look back on as having shaped core parts of whom it is we know ourselves to be. However, as we grow, a lot of our power lies in how we will interpret whatever it was that took place, whatever it was that we learned or demonstrated or experienced or felt, the hurts, the elations, the joys, but the disappointments as well. Where it is that others disappointed us or weren't able to love us the way that we had thought we needed. Well, in a way, it helps us to be exactly where we are right now. And in a way, we wouldn't be whom it is that we are without everything being exactly the way it was before it was that we had a greater awareness of our agency and of our own power in our lives. Seeing the wisdom of all of that, finding the acceptance, and through acceptance, finding empowerment in all of that is part of the gift that is part of what the universe is hoping to deliver with this larger Mercury retrograde season. And if we hadn't seen it before, if we weren't ready to see it before, or maybe because of the retrograde, we thought we did, but that really wasn't it. Now, with the direct and with this incredible grand trine happening right after this full moon perfects, well, it does suggest that this is, for some of us, a turning point where we're willing to conceptualize, to think of a thing another way, in a different way. And as we find that contemplation, we reach that deeper wisdom. And a part of what gets us there is just gratitude. Gratitude for being whom it is that we are, and for being the kind of people who actually want to be better. And by better, I mean who want to genuinely move towards greater love, move towards greater wisdom. The intention itself makes it so, but it is a messy journey along the way because we are human. It's not meant to be perfect. If we had reached nirvana, we would have no more need for this incarnation. But if you're here, it means that you're not there. And that's okay. That might even be a little bit more fun in one way to look at it. Or at least it's more of an adventure to say, whatever that next level is, once we reach nirvana, we are going to go there. And because we're not at the next level, well, this space right now, this incarnation right now, it holds its twists and turns, but actually it holds its moments of great beauty and great bliss as well. The kind of bliss that comes from finding that right balance between acceptance and gratitude. I think that's a big lesson of this grand trine energy, but it's also a big lesson with this full moon energy as well. As I touched on earlier, this full moon is happening across the sky from Mars, across the sky from Venus. If you look at this chart, Mars and Venus both are sort of on either sides of the sun. And whenever it is that the moon is directly across from the sun, that's what a full moon is, right? It is the moon reflecting the light of the sun. The moon is a mirror, is what it comes down to. And as a mirror, it serves very powerfully to a deeper understanding of what we really feel. That's the big gift of just about any full moon. It gets us honest about what we really feel about a thing. But there are contradictions in what we really feel and what it is that we feel we want. And those contradictions are going to feel very much on the surface here. There's our passions. There's also our anger, right? Mars can be either. It can be the will of life, but it can also be that part of us that wants a good fight. But it's about what we are fighting for that makes the difference between whether or not that fight moves us in a direction towards being angry at the wrong people, or that fight moves us towards being a force of destruction, or that fight moves us towards being an adamant force of love and wisdom and change, positive change that elevates the collective that much more. And of course, with Venus, it's our love and the things that we indulge ourselves in, the things that bring us pleasure. What is the cost of that? Because we are incarnated for a reason. Part of that is, of course, to experience the joy of the physical incarnation. But another part of that is also about how Venus leads us in a direction of perhaps avoidance, right? That can be part of times when we're pleasure seeking. It is so that we avoid the work that becoming truly ourselves sometimes asks, doing the work that actually is required if we are going to know a true kind of love, an authentic love within ourselves and love for ourselves, and not just a moment of escapism, a moment where the senses are what rules us rather than directing our senses towards some higher good, even if that good seems frivolous to other people. If it matters to us, it matters. And if it's rooted in love and if it's rooted in joy, then yes, it is part of what we're here to do, is to experience all of that and so much more. I recently saw this incredible show. It's just getting off the ground. I don't know how to pronounce the name of it properly. Pluribus, I think is how you say it, but I could be wrong. It's produced by the force behind Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I know that that might be a little niche viewing for some out there. I love those shows. I love the performances. I love the stories and the honesty and just the brilliance of the actors. It's just the way that you get lost in the moment, the way that you understand and see the subtleties on people's face, where you can read their psychology, even the stuff that they're trying to hide, is so brilliant. He has this new show, right? It's on Apple TV. And it is so interesting because this show is about like what happens when everybody turns into a zombie. But to be a zombie is basically to want love and happiness for everyone, to align with love and happiness, to want the entire world to be in a state of bliss and love and happiness. What is wrong with that? Or what is right with that? Who's the bad guy? Is it the person who doesn't want that, who thinks being the zombie is bad? Or is it the person who resists that feeling, that sense of acceptance of the energy of love and bliss and happiness. One scene that really stood out to me, the lead character, she has a moment of anger, right? And in her moment of anger, this other character who is kind of her guide of sorts, right, starts having this physical reaction. She sort of has this seizure of sorts as a result of this burst of anger that the main character is feeling. And afterwards, we find out that as a result of that one person's anger, the waves that it sent out, the burst it sent out, ended up leading to the death of some 17 million people, I think was the number. And she's standing there with this very small group of people who are immune to whatever it is that's making everybody a zombie, right? It's some like 11 people, I think they were saying. And she's one of them. And she is among this small group, and she's the only one who's railing. She's the only one who's saying, we've got to stop this. We've got to get out of this. And everybody's like, why would I do that? Why would I want to do that? Everything is great. Look how pleasurable my life is. Look how much joy there is. Look how well behaved my child is part of what people are saying. And so they can't really understand her resistance, but you do see people angry at her for her anger because of its destructive force, including to people that some of them personally know. And I really thought about this for a while, like, what is the cost of our anger? But also, what is the cost of not healing our anger? And what is the cost of denying that our anger even exists? Does that help anything at all? I think it's not so much about just telling ourselves that we're not angry. That doesn't really work, actually. That ends up just pushing down something that's going to come out in one way or another. But my Aunt Shireen, who I know you've seen on my channel many times, who I love so much, Shireen is the one who taught me that anger can be a sacred emotion if you use it as a force of change, if you use it as a force of animating you and your life and reminding you that you are a physical being, of reminding you of that connection between body and the will to live. When that comes together in a passionate moment, that is when Mars energy and anger energy actually can be at its very best. It's when it's taken ownership of and directed consciously that it becomes a force that can make us feel just unstoppable in some way. And that unstoppability can show up in terms of whether it is that we're pursuing certain goals or whether it is that we just want to be more, be better, be more wise, be more loving. And in this way, going back to Scorpio energy here, Mars, we often think of as the ruler of the sign of Aries, and it is, but Mars is also the ancient ruling planet of the sign of Scorpio. The ancients, having a very limited planets to work with, right? A limited number of planets to work with, they assigned these day and night qualities to each of the planets. And in a way, that allowed us to honor their range of expression and their subtleties as well, in the ways in which they could be experienced. And with Mars in its night, as they called it, it is ruler of Scorpio. And in this way, Mars itself holds these keys towards giving us the energy and the drive to be that force of change, that force of transformation, that force of more. It is that drive to, on the one hand, as the ruler of Aries, to be the warrior, but it is in its night that it becomes the spiritual warrior, the sacred warrior, understanding that there are certain things that are worth fighting for. And I think that moving towards greater wisdom is something that's worth the fight. Resolving whatever barriers you have within you, within your own heart, that keep love from you, keep your own love from you, is part of what Mars in its night, Mars as ruler of Scorpio, helps us to do. But right now, in this moment, Mars is in the sign of Sagittarius, as is Venus, as is the Sun. We are now fully in Sagittarius season, and it feels lighter. It feels better than Scorpio energy necessarily does, because once we've moved past Scorpio energy, with Scorpio, we go really deep. We ask ourselves those tough questions. We find the will to live and to fight and to move forward and to change. But in Sagittarius, like, we've done all this inner work. Now we're ready to play. We're ready to have fun. We're ready to take on adventure. We've done the work we needed to do. We don't need to go through it again or anymore, enough so that we're willing to really see more possibility for ourselves and for our lives. Sagittarian energy can be very optimistic. And, last week I remember talking to you about the higher vibration of Scorpio and the lower vibration of Scorpio. Well, the higher vibration of Sagittarius is to be expansive and worldly and philosophical and embracing of people, seeking the commonality within all of us, wherever you go, seeing love there. That is so Sagittarian. It's a beautiful energy, and it's a lighter energy than doing that inner work, but it too has its shadow side. It too has its lower vibration, and its lower vibration is telling yourself that everything is hunky-dory and everything is absolutely perfect when you're hurting, when you haven't done the inner work that healthy change and authenticity sometimes require, when you are practicing what is called spiritual bypass, and that is not taking ownership for anything and just telling yourself that everything is a bed of roses and that's the only reality that's going to exist for you. Well, maybe you've gotten there, and that's great. If that's where you are, awesome, kudos, more power to you. But sometimes we tell ourselves that we are there, but that's not actually the case. The case is that we're sort of like covering our eyes and covering our ears and yelling really loud, because that deeper voice within, it is painful to listen to, because it might lead us down roads where there might be discomfort. There might be some feelings that feel uncertain that we'd rather not have. And yet, it is those very feelings that make life that much more rich, that much more worth living, and that much more something that leads us to use this lifetime well. Every planet has its wisdom. Every sign has its wisdom. Every sign is within you. But the choice as to whether or not you're going to bring forward the higher vibration or the lower vibration of any given placement or planet or sign, well, that's always yours to make. Well, Sunday is a super active day. Right out of the gate is when Venus is going to be standing across Uranus with precision and then speaking in supreme harmony with Neptune before changing signs and moving into the sign of Sagittarius. It is here at the beginning of the sign of Sagittarius that Venus will, on Tuesday, perfect a harmonious connection with Pluto. And if you want, you can even throw in an asteroid there. Ceres, the goddess Demetra, is part of this larger configuration as well, perfecting its supremely harmonious connection on Wednesday. So you can see here, all of this is happening on the lead up to that full moon that happens on Thursday. And what this suggests is, whereas 2 weeks ago, it was about ourselves, right? That's the sun. It has to do with you at your core. And whereas last week, it was about how you're thinking, how you're communicating, what we are talking about as a collective. This week, it is about the heart. It is about love. It is about what the heart is wanting and what it is that we think is going to make things easier, more joyous, more pleasurable, more abundant for us as part of our experience. How we could use what we now are coming to understand about ourselves, what it is that we've been talking about and thinking about, how can we use it now to align with whatever it is that we uniquely define abundance and joy and pleasure to be. That is going to be an important part of the consideration right out of the gate. But our awarenesses come on by surprise, if not shock. We've got Uranus opposition to kick things off as soon as we start this week. So yeah, we've got these really powerful energies here, but ultimately they are meant to lead us back to ourselves, lead us back to a deeper understanding of what the heart is wanting, truly wanting, not what it is that we are escaping from within our hearts through pleasure, but rather that genuine sense of what it is that is going to bring us ease on a heart level, is going to help us to magnify love within ourselves and for ourselves as well. Well, all of that is going to feel like a consideration that's very much on the surface right out of the gate as we begin this week. But remember, we're moving towards that full moon of all the energies I've spoken about. It is the full moon that is going to be the most dominant. And the reason is because we just feel lunar energy more personally. It is our emotion after all. And the great thing is that, like all cycles, like all aspects, they come and go. The good comes and it goes. And so does the stuff that feels challenging, that feels uncomfortable, that feels uncertain. It too shall pass. And this full moon is a bit of a mixed bag, but we could talk ourselves into thinking that it is a lot worse than it actually is, or that it is a lot more blissful than it actually is. The truth is usually found somewhere in the middle. And when we've got oppositions playing out like we do as key conversations to this full moon, well, that means there is a need for balance. There is a need to consider other perspectives, but at the same time to seek harmony within it, not just in our external circumstances, but also within ourselves. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It is a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Well, I am going to say that full moon is so powerful right about now. Yes, some of us might be double-minded. Some of us might not be sure. Some of us might feel like, well, there's something we really want, but equally or almost as equally, this looks pretty good over here as well. And you might tell yourself you've got to choose, and maybe you do, but perhaps you don't. Perhaps there is a middle ground. Your answers are going to be uniquely your own, but the wonderful thing about Gemini energy is it gives us a chance to talk things out. It gives us a chance to understand other perspectives, including within ourselves. And it gives us a chance to be spontaneous, to be open to life, to be open to communicating, to be open to new ideas. And in that way, I actually think of Gemini as one of the more interesting energies out there because it brings with it a certain lightness, a way in which it can engage others. This is the sign of the twins, which is about brethren, which is about looking around you and seeing siblings everywhere you go, because that is a key essential truth of life as well. As intense as it can be with Scorpio, as joyous and a party it can be with Sagittarius, it can also be something that we move through with a sense of knowing that we are supported, sometimes by random strangers, but there's a commonality there between us and everyone else. And when we find that, our journey through the world, our journey through our days, our journey through life, it just feels that much easier, that much smoother, because we have the ability to relate. And as we find relating to each other, well, we start to relate to different parts of ourselves as well. And in the midst of all of it, the part of us that wants one thing and then the other part that wants another, there is some wisdom there. There is some cohesion. And we just might find love as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys, and to prove it to you, here's some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month, with choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Synchronicity University is proud to present absolutely phenomenal, incredible astrologers who are coming to the school. This is such a big deal. I'm so proud of this group. We've got big dogs, shining stars. Let me start with perhaps one of the bigger dogs out there in astrology today, the one and only Kira Sutherland. Kira is a force in medical astrology. I will tell you, she is respected, she is celebrated, she is known, she is brilliant as well. Inside and out, she is beautiful and amazing. I cannot say enough nice things about her because she is just that lovely a person. And I know how many of you are so enthusiastic about learning from her. Well, she's coming to Synchronicity University as part of a very special new thing that we're going to do, which is a workshop experience. This is a multi-day workshop experience that she is going to be teaching. And it takes place over the course of 3 days, spread out over the course of weeks. And it is going to be an additional day that she's going to have just for Q&A, just to interact with you guys. Over the course of this period, you are going to learn a lot. I will tell you, you will learn a lot. She's broken it down. You're going to learn about solar energies and your health. You're going to learn about moon phases and health, and also you're going to learn about recipes, herbs, and astrology, and bringing it together in terms of what you're actually consuming, what you're actually eating. She's the perfect person to help you to understand all of this. And for this to be taking place in January, you know, it's a new year, and a lot of people tend to be very aware that they want to move towards a better sense of health and a better sense of well-being. And so this tends to be the time of year when you want to make those inspired changes. Well, imagine not only having changes that are inspired, but also wise, also grounded in very well-established techniques and interpretations that go back centuries and centuries, but now presented in a modern context and in a modern paradigm. Kira Sutherland is a master at being able to bring those threads together, merging the traditional knowledge she has with what it is that we experience in our modern world today and how to align all of it towards experiencing better health. This is a very special learning opportunity, just $25 for the entire workshop experience. And there is nowhere else on the planet that Kira Sutherland teaches at this low a rate other than Synchronicity University, where we make quality astrology education available to the masses. I hope that you will check this out. You can learn a lot more about Kira and her course and sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links below. Synchronicity University is proud to present one of my YouTube channel's favorite guests, the one and only Ryan Hunt. He is coming to Synchronicity University with his own 5-week course, and this is 5 cosmic catalysts for the new year. And he goes through 5 big dog planets: Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto. He will guide you through what experiences, transits of these planets are like, and how to hone your relationship with these planets so that they work to your advantage, so that you understand yourself more deeply, because these planets are big catalysts over the course of a life. If you've ever had a big transit to or from one of these planets, you know how these can be an absolute game changer, and how sometimes they'll pluck you off of one path of life and put you on another. And it is sometimes in the moment, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but you start to see how ultimately it was a change you needed. And it was a change that aligns you with something that feels so much more like it's whom it is that you really are. So he's going to guide you through all of that, helping you to interpret those transits, aspects, and insights so that you use them that much better, so that you do more consciously align with the direction in which you are meant to go in this lifetime, so that you use your relationship to the sky that much more to your advantage, and so much more. Ryan Hunt is brilliant. He is poetic. Like I said, he is one of our favorite guests here on my YouTube channel. So many of you love watching him, and you let me know how much you love watching him. And if you do, you're going to love learning from him as well. So you can learn a lot more about Ryan's course and sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links below. Synchronicity University is proud to present Dabney Lawless of Lawless Astrology. I am so proud of Dabney. She has emerged as such a star. I just see her shining more and more, and she wants to be part of helping you shine as well. Now, if you are one of those people who's thought about launching your own YouTube channel, understanding what it is to have an astrology business or any type of spiritual entrepreneurship endeavor, and how YouTube might fit into that, this is a course you do not want to miss. This is a very valuable experience that you are going to have, and Dabney is the perfect person to teach it. I have watched her in front of my eyes. I have watched her cultivate a very loyal audience. She has done all the right things. She uses her channel to express this very authentic side of her that loves astrology. She shares astrology. She interviews people. She interviewed me as well for her channel, and it was such a privilege. And like I said, her astrology is on. She is brilliant. And her business acumen as well is brilliant. She's showing it in real time with how much she's able to grow what it is that she does and find ways to make it something that is a part of the prosperity that she experiences in this life through this entrepreneurial endeavor with her YouTube channel and more. And she wants to help you do all of that as well. So learn more about this class, even if it's just a flight of fancy. You've thought, oh, it might be fun to have a YouTube channel one day, and it might not have anything to do with astrology. It might have to do with, something else entirely, because really there's an astrology community or YouTube community for just about anything you can imagine. Anything. I remember coming across this one channel. I was just thinking about the guy the other day, and he had this small channel, and he was talking about, I don't know, some kind of cards or something. And he was sitting in a room, and it had lots of these little action figures around him. And he was just this sincere, lovely person. I wish I remembered the channel. He was talking about something I knew nothing about, didn't really care about, but I came across his channel and I thought, how lovely that he's putting himself out there, that he's sharing something that makes him happy. And as a result, he's cultivating a community. He's got people who are interacting with him, who are supporting what it is that he does and want to see him shine, want to see him grow. And whatever that might be for you, even if you don't know what that is yet, this is a class that you definitely want to take. So again, it's just $5 a class to learn from Dabney Lawless of Lawless Astrology, whether it is shining with YouTube and in other ways as well. What a wonderful way to start a new year, with a determination to empower yourself, whether it is to empower yourself to share more, empower yourself financially and in other ways. It is Dabney's class that's going to help you to do that and so much more. So learn more. Sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. Links below. And a reminder, make sure that you sign up. Follow me on social media. Follow my newsletter, because there is going to be the 24 days of giving. It is happening, and I'm super excited about it. There are going to be a bunch of days when I'm giving away different things, everything from hard copies of my books mailed to you wherever you are in the world. You might win a copy of that. It could be classes that I've taught before. And it also, one prize is going to be a consultation with me as well. And so, yes, consultations are available on my website. You can learn more about that and sign up at nadiyashah.com. Of course, that is there. But yeah, you're going to have a chance to win that, a chance to win other courses that are coming up, but also classes that have happened, and readings with superstar astrologers and other products and good things from some of the sponsors we've had over the last while, and so much more. So do sign up, show up, fill out that form every day. You enter the raffle every single day for the different days of prizes over the course of 24 days. And you just might be one of the winners. And it would be so wonderful to give to you in one way or another. And, we'll figure it out. I really love everybody feeling like a winner. So we'll figure something out along those lines as well. But yeah, some prizes are going to be really, really awesome and really, really good. And I know every year how much you guys love that. And so, yes, prizes, but also every single day, 24 days, 24 newsletters going out, 24 raffles. That newsletter also will have a different charity featured every single day. And most of those charities are ones that I support every single month with my donations. And I see that as part of what our community does because it's you that makes that possible. So you're going to see that there, not entirely, but there are a lot of like animal welfare stuff because that is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Whatever inspires you, please go out, align with it, support it. And you will also get to see different charities that some of our teachers and other people who are participating in this, astrologers that you know and love, what charities do they love? Do they support? You're going to learn about that as well. And some of my team members also, you'll learn about some of the things that they support and so much more. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you are so inspired and you learn about a particular charity and you want to support them, how wonderful a way in which to continue that whole 24 days of giving and so much more. So yes, join me online starting this week. It'll be a party and we'll go for 24 days. And I hope you love it. I really, really do. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned now for short horoscopes. They're coming up right now. And I just want to send you a big burst of love and a burst of gratitude. Thank you again. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. Perhaps you've heard of the phrase double-minded. It refers to this idea that sometimes either we just can't make up our minds, or it is that we see multiple sides to a given choice that we might have, and we see the merits or the disadvantages of any of them. And sometimes that can mean we're sort of stuck in one place, but other times, even with our double-mindedness, we feel a pull in a certain direction. Now, regardless of what it is, there are times when certain choices, it's the same thing, but we can see how if we go one way with it, well, that's what seems like it lights us up. Another way might mean that it brings with it passion and maybe even frustration, but the end result could be more rewarding. And another way still might be more joyous, more pleasurable on the way there, but we can see that the gains might not be as strong. Well, we have all of this and more with the very powerful Gemini full moon taking place on Thursday, December 4th. And it is this very powerful full moon energy that has as part of it these connections with Venus and Mars. Venus, of course, being the goddess of love and pleasure and ease and joy and abundance, but Mars being the energy of life, of knowing something of your own power, deciding on your direction and dedicating yourself towards the way there. But Gemini itself is air. It is mind. It is thinking and then rethinking over and over again. So where do these more internal, more physical drives find themselves when so much energy right now is of mind? Well, it is mind itself that can be influenced by our own distractions, our own joys, our own indulgences. This very powerful Gemini full moon is going to be a gateway towards hearing the thing, speaking the thing, finally having that conversation that maybe you didn't want to have. And again, the double-mindedness, maybe you saw the advantages or disadvantages from actually speaking and saying and asking for what it is that feels like it's just under the surface until you reach a moment that is spontaneous, that is unexpected, and it might be wrought in some ways with that sense of urgency. And yet there's also such an energy of power here. Sometimes it isn't about the outcome. It isn't about how other people will acquiesce to your request, but rather it is about the asking itself that we make gains. And sometimes those gains are just knowing that we are worthy to advocate on our own behalf, to speak on our own behalf, and that we're worthy of taking steps towards moving towards whatever it is that we think is going to be better for us, and however we might understand that. And in this way, these very powerful energies of this time with this very powerful full moon are saying, yeah, we might see multiple ways with which we could go, we could choose, we could advance, we could move forward. The many ways in which we might interpret a given situation and the different feelings it evokes, depending on what interpretations we choose. But ultimately, it is the path that allows us to feel in touch with those things that we like about ourselves. When we are at our most powerful and inspired best, well, it is those paths that are the most trusted paths to take now. Now, how this full moon speaks to you in your sign depends on your sun, moon, and rising. Take all three into consideration, synthesize the information to make it unique to you. And there's lots more horoscopes available right now over on my YouTube channel, Nadiya_Shah, and in the superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com or thefutureismagical.com. Aries, siblings, cousins, neighbors, some of this energy of tension, of passion, of joy, of fun, of connection, of emotional truth, all of that might play out in terms of your connection with one of these people. They very certainly are likely to come into focus in some way for you now, with more attention being paid, more time spent together. Outside of that, though, this can be a part of your understanding of your learning journey. This part of the sky has to do with how you're processing and understanding information and taking on new skills, and where it is that you just find your curiosity awaken. Well, learning can happen in a way that feels very rewarding. Taurus, money you earn, money you spend, self-love, self-esteem, financial matters may come into focus at this time. Now, Mercury is very newly direct, and so it tends to not be the best time for big financial purchases, unless it's not a big deal to you. It's up to you to decide what to do. But this is a very powerful energy to understand what you define prosperity to be, what feels like prosperity to you. And given the aspects taking place, impulse purchases might very much be part of the picture. Impulse purchases that are rooted in what you think is going to be fun or beautifying or pleasuring. Those are the types of purchases that tend to feel like they feel especially urgent, and you got to get on it, you got to get it done. It's up to you again. Now, outside of that, though, this can be a great determination to align with greater prosperity in some way. And so that sense of abundance of ideas and abundance of options where it comes to how you might cultivate more prosperity in your life as you uniquely define it might be part of this time. Gemini, identity, who you know yourself to be, what matters to you most and first. It is illuminated in a moment that feels passionate, that feels possibly intense, that might feel like it pushes buttons. I want to be straightforward with you. Whatever buttons are pushed, whether they feel more about worthiness or whether they feel more about how passions or desires or anger even are stirred, whatever that is for you, remember, keep the focus on you, because it is about who you know yourself to be. It is about what you really want. That is what's going to come right to the surface in a way that is undeniable. And from there, you get to make much more conscious choices as part of figuring out what the best steps are and how it is that you're going to move towards this truth that you're realizing about you. Cancer, soul, psyche, spirit. If anybody out there is going to feel restless, it's you. This is a very restless energy at play. This inner sense of maybe not feeling like you can really rest. Now, this might just come and go rather quickly. The best thing to do with this energy really is to move, to act, in some cases quite physically, is a good way to dispel some of this energy, whether that is moving towards projects that matter to you, goals that you have, or whether it is just, physically getting a little bit more active around the days of the full moon. That can help you to resolve some of this energy. Getting rest, I think it's going to be really hard to do, but that just might be what is needed. So that you work through some of these energies that can feel a little bit like a roller coaster to some out there. For all of that, though, trust the wisdom of whatever you feel. Trust the wisdom of whatever feels frustrating to you now. You will make sense of it, but it's almost like you've got to feel it so that you can acknowledge it, and then you're free of some perhaps long held frustration that you just don't need to align with or carry anymore. Leo, friendships, group dynamics, and your involvement with other people, especially in social situations as well. If you are attending social situations around the full moon, there might be interactions or events there that feel, on the one hand, magnetic, or they just might feel like they really push some buttons within you. Either way, those might be buttons you want to have pushed or buttons you don't want to have pushed. These are oppositions. They really could go either way. But for all that, I think for most Leos, this is going to be some truth that you recognize about your relationship with someone you consider a friend, how good a friend they are, how bonded or connected to them do you feel or not. It's going to be part of what you might be exploring in some way for yourself at this time. There might be for some Leos a very distinct experience that makes the truth of your dynamic with another or with a group in a way that is visceral, in a way that is undeniable, so much so that you've got to pay attention for the truth revealed there, which just might be the truth of whether or not this is someone you're meant to keep in your life. Virgo, career, social standing, life purpose, and your understanding of a higher, more loving vision for your life, a determination and ambition. Maybe goals or deadlines are calling you at this time, and you're very focused on having to get them done, wanting to get them done. And that can be a wonderful way to harness this energy, to channel this energy towards giving it something to do so that you are moving towards goals or deadlines that matter to you. But know that this can also represent a moment where bosses or people in positions of authority are in some way dramatic or inappropriate even as well. I'm so sorry to say. What I can say is that none of this is a surprise. So if you know that you have a boss who already can be that way, that is part of what will stir for you at this time. But if it is the case that that isn't in your life, you don't have a toxic boss, then how wonderful. What a great thing. Chances are this isn't going to show up that way then. But for all of that, where you are connecting with your own motivation to align with life purpose, well, that's where this energy really helps you to get in touch with your truth and give your energy to the things that matter to you. Libra, long distance travel, immigration, citizenship, higher learning, legal matters, and your understanding of the world around you. And this is a very powerful energy that reorients you to the world around you. I gotta say, whether it is your own beliefs, political, philosophical, or spiritual, that feel in some way challenged, that is a possibility here. Also possible is if you are in any of these institutions I just mentioned, well, yeah, there might be situations here that you feel like you have to respond to very quickly, that feel like there might be some negotiation that needs to happen, some balance needs to be reached, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to feel comfortable. However, you might find resolution, which will make the journey worth it. To know that you addressed a situation and you're able to now put it behind you is part of what just might help you to feel that much stronger. Scorpio, profound change, truth, transformation, regeneration, and wealth. Your relationship with financial institutions. You might very quickly have to pay attention to a matter having to do with a loan or a scholarship or benefits you qualify for. Maybe you need to follow up. Maybe you need to provide more documents. Whatever it is, you're able to meet the moment. And when we have such strong financial energy, it means that the money you need is there. You're navigating spiritual lessons along the way. For all of that, though, I do think that this energy can speak powerfully to you getting in touch with what it is to be true to yourself and what it is that you don't want to carry into your future. This idea of what stays and what goes is a big part of this part of the sky, metaphorically, and that facilitates a meaningful change for you now as you get your priorities straight. What is it that now you're ready to move forward from? You identify it and you feel stronger as you move towards a life better lived, more authentically yourself. Sagittarius, love partnerships of all kinds are covered here, including business partnerships as well. Now, whether it's business, whether it's romantic, other people are going to ask for or need your focus in some way. And perhaps in a moment that feels like it has tension, maybe one of these people is bringing the drama. Maybe they are accusing you of bringing the drama. And it's up to you to decide how much you're going to consider that to be valid or not. But for all of that, if it is that you are open to meeting someone new, someone will be there to help you to understand where you are in love and how you feel about it. And where it is that you are already connected with someone, this is a big moment of truth to help you to understand how you really feel about them. Where relationships are good, they will grow that much more fiercely committed. Where they are not, this will be a turning point moment that might have you going another way. Capricorn, your clients, customers, coworkers, your daily life is covered here, as well as how well you take care of you in terms of your health related habits. This is a time of honesty about how you are actually living and how you feel about it and where it is perhaps you want to feel stronger. Now, that might be in terms of your health and making changes at this time that help you to feel stronger, but it could also be in terms of your work. What work is going to feel more rewarding? Now, there might be some tense interactions with one of these people I just mentioned. Not comfortable, not easy, but there is something honest that comes forward at this time. And it helps you to understand what your expectations are of others, what you are giving, where you think those alliances and relationships are fair and where you don't. And this just might be necessary to help you to understand what you bring, what you contribute, and who other people are as part of figuring out what it is that you might want to do in a very literal sense with your work, with certain clients next. Aquarius, romance, flirtation, what the heart truly wants, and what it wants in every area of life. What's going to make you happy? What brings you joy? Now, there's a lot of tension here, which does suggest friends are part of bringing the drama or bringing some tension in some way, but it ultimately helps you to get in touch with some truth within yourself. Outside of that, though, yes, you are getting your flirt on, and it might be with a friend. It might be in a place that's kind of inappropriate at a social event, in a group setting. However, whatever that flirtation is, it helps you to understand what you're really going for where it comes to love. It certainly can help redefine something within yourself so that you are more clear as to the type of love and experience in love you desire. Pisces, home, the past, your living situation, your family of origin, and your parents in particular, where that applies, this is energy that says you will likely feel like you want to spend time at home working on projects that matter to you. If you have a home-based business or you work with homes, this can be a time when you're expending a whole lot of energy in that regard. Now, outside of that, just wanting to be with family more is part of what I feel like it motivates you now. Now, if it is that you have certain family members that push buttons or, they bring the drama, for example, yeah, some of that might feel like a tendency that is stronger than it might otherwise be. And it's up to you to decide how you're going to respond to a given situation. For some, though, I would say if you know that there are certain people who push buttons in a way that feels toxic to you, that doesn't feel comfortable to you, there are absolutely ways in which you can ensure that you are okay as you navigate this time so that you are actually spending time with those people who aren't just family, but feel like family as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.